to be honest, there's not a lot of people that I love and respect in terms of their work and their lineage of fantastic work. And I've always been, like I said, the kind of person that people got on my case about this, but kind of back in the day, I would literally, because we were analog,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I had a party once a year, and I'm going to say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I had so many drawings that I had accumulated in a year's time, and I was the kind of guy that was like, you know what, none of it was good enough, and I gotta be better, and I don't want to rely on what I did yesterday. I got to rely on what I'm doing today
Yeah.
or in the future.
Yeah.
So me and my kids would get this big giant, 60-gallon trash can or whatever it was, and we start ripping that work up, and we'd be like a
Oh.
party, rip, rip, rip. I know that was wrong now because that was actually stuff when my kids got older. I could give it to them and they could have it.
Yeah.
But dude, every year I would have this party. Even my wife at the time, she was like, "Why are you doing that? Well, you're teaching the kids to destroy your work." I said, "Well,
Yeah.
it should be destroyed. Like now I can do things and I can keep them in the computer, and I don't do that kind of, I don't flush things the way I used to. But
Mm.
that was my whole thing back in the day. It's like I want to be better.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough, and these things are like a crutch, and I don't love them, so I can destroy them. And I did. Every year we would do that, and I did that for a long time. So a lot of stuff, like when I find old drawings, it's like, well, how did this one make it? It's like, but I just find remnants of things, and you know, in retrospect, I wish it was all there, but it's
Mm.
gone, and it is what it is. But I've always had this. I don't know. I'm being very honest,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I've always had this lack of confidence. Like I'm not good enough. My work isn't good enough, and the only way I felt I could get better, even though I've always had work and people like you and others been very complimentary. Uh, I never could see what other people could see in my work, and I'm kind of still that way to this point.
Mm.
But now everything is digital, so I just keep everything, and I have several external hard drives that are full from the at least last couple of decades anyway. So I can go back and I can retrace my steps and look at things I could have improved nowadays. And sometimes I actually go back to some of that old work and redo it, and based on my education, which is pretty self-motivated, and but just to try and get better. You know, I've always been that way, and I guess I still am. And I think that's one big advantage the computer has given me is that I don't have to flush anything or throw it out because it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's just on this little external hard drive, and uh, uh, it's not like back in the day. Literally after a year, you've got a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stuff you did professionally, stuff you were doing on your own time. Because we might spend 8 hours at work, but I'd still spend 8 hours at home every day working. Even when I had a family, I'd wait till everybody went to bed, and then I would do my own thing.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of work back in those days. Not so much now. I'm a little too old for that.
Mm.
But and I'm appreciating the time that I have with my youngest daughter now, who's only 9.
Oh.
And yeah, so her and I spend a lot of time together, which I didn't necessarily spend with my oldest kids. And then my youngest from my first marriage is in 30, he's turning 32. So all my kids are really grown and that, but I didn't spend enough time with them. But it was because I was so dedicated to trying to get better. And I'd work all day to be good, and then I'd work all night to get better. I,
Mm.
I did that for first, I don't know, first 20 years of my career.
Yeah.
Um, but now I am where I am, and um, the a lot of the stuff I've learned and a lot of the things that being around a lot of talented people kind of gave me a little bit more balance. I'm a little bit more comfortable being an artist, where I
Yeah.
never really felt like an artist. I guess I feel more like a designer and not an artist, if you will, and that the things that I design, I want them to be realistic, and even if they're an impossible thing to do in the world of physics, if you will, real physics, I
Hmm.
still want to look like, well, we could obtain this. And I always want things to be grounded and feel solid and feel believable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Well, your work is like that. Your work is very believable. It looks real, you know, and that's what I like about you, because a lot of the stuff that you have done has been very tight, and it's just like, wow, that you could build that thing. That's a real thing, even though you know engineering and physics and technology is not there yet. It
Yeah.
always looked believable. It always looked real. Um, I got this funny thing is, like, when I was growing up, uh, one of the things that, as a little boy, that I couldn't wait to see every day was, like, back in the day, it was like Batman, right? The '60s series,
Oh,
which is still
yeah.
one of my favorite of
Oh, with
all time.
Adam West.
Adam West, and oh man, that show was dope. And even my little daughter, she's 9. Like,
Yeah.
my kids don't like it. My older kids, they're like, that's stupid. But but my little girl, she loves it.
Yeah.
And I got the whole collection. I bought the whole thing, and then her and I, every once in a while, we get bored. Say, hey, let's watch Batman.
Yeah.
And she loves it. And we'll watch it for, like, we'll have a Batman meal. Like, so we'll make dinner, and then we'll
Batman
eat.
meal.
Yeah, and then we'll eat. Then watch the thing for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Uh, which is really cool, because she gets it, and it's because when I was introduced to it, I was really young.
Mm.
When I introduced her, it was really young. When I introduced my other kids to it, it was already like, oh, it's like, dude, we don't do that no more. Special effects and stuff don't work, and the thing is cheap, and But
Yeah.
but one of my heroes was Steve Swaja. Remember him?
Yeah. Sure.
Well, he designed the original Batmobile
Batman.
for that
Yeah.
show,
Batmobile.
and I think it was George Barris that he was working for. George Barris took credit for it, but it was actually Steve Swaja.
Mm.
And it's still, like, to be able to work with. I got some of his, like, drawings, like, original. Like, he used to do the layups and tissue, and
Oh yeah.
you know
Tons
do
and
all
tons.
tons of layers. But he gave me one. We were doing GI Joe, I think, at Deke,
Yeah.
and he was designing one of the toys. Well, it was one of the props that was going to be turned into a toy. And I just, like, dude, man, I love your stuff. And, like, he said, here, take it. And it was like, dude, there's so many layers. I still have that thing, and that thing is really old. He could draw. It looked like it was done in a computer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's that tight, that accurate, that brilliant. And you know, there are shortcuts now where you can do that in a computer really quickly. But to know this guy had to do it out of his head, and it was all accurate. It wasn't no fakery. It was like, no, this is all, like, real proportion. So I always look at that drawing to this day, and it keeps me in touch with how I should do my work, even though I'm doing it on the box.
Yeah.
Uh, I still think that uh, what he was doing was exceptional, because he actually understood proportion and dimension, scale and shape, and it was accurate. Like, my architectural drawings were very accurate. Like, when I would do a rendering of a building, I would do plan projection, and which means that it was very accurate. I would pick my sight line, and I would figure out my perspective, and and like how high I wanted the camera, how low I needed it, and then it was accurate. It was 1-to-1. And now we can do it in the computer very quickly, and it's a lot easier.
Mm.
But Steve's Swaja's work was like that. He was like, and I guess that's why I liked it so much, because it was very kind of architectural in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was cool that this show I grew up watching as a little boy. Now I'm working with this guy, um, and and that's one thing I love about our path as creators is that before the industry was so big, now obviously because it wasn't that big, it was a lot more intimate. So you would see the same people over and over again, and it was a smaller group of people that the industry needed to fulfill what was necessary. So you could meet people that have done a lot of things and a lot of diversity in terms of backgrounds and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it's just so different now. It's not as intimate, and there is. I mean, there's a lot of really good artists that every year you'll find and see new things, and it's awesome in that way. But there's maybe the identity for all the creators now is less prominent than it used to be. And although things are very successful in a lot of ways, and some amazing things are going on, everything kind of feels the same or similar. There's the individual. There's no more identity. Everything is kind of turned into one big thing, and which is that's, I guess that's considered progression, because there's a lot more unification in terms of what people want to see and what they expect. And but as an artist, or wannabe artist, because I still want to be an artist one day, I just feel like, okay, I'm a designer.
You're too humble.
No, I'm not quite there yet. But the and I know that these generations that are behind guys like you and me, I mean, we're a lot older than some of these people are only half our age.
I bet.
Literally, right?
Yeah, literally.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I kind of feel bad for them because they kind of missed out, in that time where collaborations were more engaging, more fun, because you could see individuals' diversity and talent could still bring something together. Where now everything is a little bit more assembly line, if you will, and you have to have this or that, the other thing, and God forbid you think out of the box, because right, you're going to get turned down. You're going to be like, "Yo, we don't get this, man. This is crazy." It's like, no, it's like, if a person has a skill and has an imagination, especially if we're talking about fantasy, sci-fi, I kind of want somebody to think out of the box. I don't want them to do what I would do.
Yeah.
I want them to do what they would do.
Yeah.
I know how to use it. I know how to make it work. But other people don't. And that's why a lot of good ideas and momentum that people have kind of get squashed. You get to a point where it's like, I give up. I'll do the thing, right? I'll make it work, whatever it is, right? And even to this day, I said, I started as a janitor.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm still kind of a janitor, right? Because I clean up other people's messes. I'm not kidding. That's how I feel. I'm still cleaning up other people's messes. It's just in a different way. Because I got to take all these dumb ideas. Excuse me, but I'm telling the truth. And I got to make it work. I got to make it still look exciting and interesting. And it's like, dude, this stuff doesn't even make any sense. My best work normally, even nowadays, gets rejected, and I'm like, wow, that was the start of something. And then they'll just like, do this, do that, and the thing, and then it's like, okay, I mean, I'll do it, and I work hard, and I do the best I can. I always work hard, but I'm like, wow, you missed out on an opportunity. I wanted to take it this way because it's going to be new, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be different. It'll solve the problems we want.
Yeah,
it'll function, it'll do. But it's like, well, it doesn't look like anything we've seen before. And I'm like, yeah, because it's an IP, it's a new thing. It's why do you want to look like what's been done before? Because that's what's successful, that's what works, that's what thing. And so, you know, I don't see a lot of creativity, not even from the people that are running the industry. We talked about having one Xerox machine at Deke, and now we got millions of Xerox machines. They just come in the form of flesh and blood versus.
That's so true. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's such a burnout, and I'm not trying to be discouraging or anything. I'm just being real.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and um, I'm still trying to find a way to make it work. And as I've worked on a lot of my own stuff, and I've got boxes of things that I still have ideas for. And even as recent as a couple of weeks ago, I wrote a story over the weekend. I took some
Hmm.
time. Normally I work a lot, and then I took and I was like, I'm just going to write a story, and I'm going to, and something that's, it's different, um, but also if I was able to do anything that I would want to do, it would more it would be more about optimism of the future than good against evil kind of stuff. Which I know that's a big thing that we do in entertainment now. Is there's always got to be the protagonist and the
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's so predictable, and it's fine. I mean, that's the way it works. But I'm like, you know what? I want to entertain people a different way. I want them to escape, good against evil. I want to take them to a place of possibility where you're just gonna hang out, have fun, see things that are, you know, without any boundaries, and it's more of a journey. It's so, and I've always been that way, and I'm still working on stuff like that. And as I get older, maybe it'll happen, and maybe it won't. But that's kind of always been my emphasis.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think based on current events, I suspect that people at some point are going to need an escape from what I call a slice of life. And it doesn't mean it could be historical, it could be slice of life from today, or it could be a slice of life in the future. It's always the same.
Mm.
It's always going to be this one against that one, and they're fighting for something. It's always
Yeah.
about destruction, and the good guy wins, or the bad guy wins, and it's so predictable. It's so boring. I don't want to do anything about war or conflict. I want to do something about optimism. I want to do something about building. The way I started as a little boy, at
Yeah.
13 years old, when I told you earlier, I think in the conversation that I want to redesign the whole world, and I took out the world map and I created these things and megastructures and farms and things. Uh, that's I'm still that way as an old man now. It's like I don't know. I can entertain people doing something where there's only growth and development,
Yeah.
and a little bit more intellectual maybe than our current movie and entertainment goers. But
Yeah.
I think there's a legitimate market for doing something that shows possibility rather than being discouraged, because everything is about discouragement. Okay? And even when the good guy wins, it's still a mess, right? It still looks like ooh, and then there'll be sequence number two or film number three, right? Because there's always another mess to follow because nobody fixes anything. I don't know if that makes sense. That's like I'm getting
No.
a little out there, but that's kind of what I see.
Yeah. I just wanted to hear you out, because you are one of those guys who are a little reclusive, but you have these ideas and things that you want to do, and also share. So I just was riveted, if it's a good word, about your excitement, your idea. I mean, it seems like you keep saying you're an old man, but your uh, inner the being is not old. You're still very youthful. I mean, I haven't talked to you in a few decades, but
Has been there long, really?
Um, well,
Wow,
I
that's a long time. It doesn't seem like that long. It really seems a lot less time than that.
yeah, I mean, anytime I talk to the guys from DIC, we pick up where we left off. It seems, with other guys, and Marcelo too. He was very passionate, and he kept going. Like, well, I'm kind of, I didn't think he would last. Our conversation will last long, but we ended up talking for 2.5 hours just over Skype, and the Skype started to give away a little bit, and he sound kind of mousy towards the end
Hmm.
because the volume started to go down or whatever. But he was really passionate. He remembered everything that I threw at him. The times we went to the zoo and things like that. It's people remember this stuff too. And
Oh,
I remember
totally.
I remember yeah, working with you, or actually working near you at Deke, and
Rhythm and Hues, we worked together.
yeah, Rhythm and Hues. Oh, how did you jump from like animation to CGI? That was what I was curious about as well. How did that happen?
To be perfectly honest, I have no idea. I
Oh
don't
my,
remember. I really don't remember. Um, but one of the guys we used to work with, Dan Kornstrom,
yeah, oh yeah,
was at
yeah.
Rhythms before I got there, and maybe he and I had talked, I guess, and then I went in and showed him my work, and uh, I loved the experience there. I thought John Hughes, I think, was one of the most brilliant guys. Uh, I loved his ideology. I loved. Some people didn't like him, and I'm not going to go into names, but I know some that didn't.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wait, this guy's he's pretty cool though. He's very innovative. He's very smart, and he loved technology. Obviously, he loved business, but he loved art. And
Yeah,
that guy,
yeah,
he would invest so much money just into art, and you could go into the building and there'd be art all over the walls.
yeah, yeah.
No, I enjoyed that experience a lot. And uh, you know, I can remember the first time I directed a commercial working at Rhythm and Hues, which it was pretty much just kind of a logo that, and I forget what company it was for an automotive company or something like that. And
Hmm.
you remember Charlie Gibson?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah, he was one of my favorite people. I love Charlie. I
yeah.
could just talk to him and hang out there. So I remember being on the set and okay, so like I'm an art director, dude, but apparently I was going to direct the shoot for this logo
Oh
thing.
my God.
It was like for Cadillac or Ford or I don't remember what it was for. One of those deals. I said, wait a minute, I'm just designing. I remember the cinematographer came up and said, okay, like what speed are we gonna run this at and what kind of film and the thing, and I'm like, what the I
What the-
don't even know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
But I was the dude in charge, and I'm like, and then I remember as we were setting up, Charlie Gibson was there, and he spoke up and he said, "No, here we're going to use this film at this speed, the thing, and the da 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 da." Because he knew everything, so he's a
Yeah, he's
brilliant guy.
very technical. Yeah, he's very
He
technical
was, he
guy.
was brilliant. He was really smart, and I was like, "Dang!" But man, I was like, I didn't know I had to do that. I thought you guys show up with your own stuff. I don't know what to do. It's like, um, and I guess back in those days they were still shooting. Things weren't, even though we were working for a digital company, they were still using film and stuff to
Film.
shoot
Yeah.
things. And you had camera speed and all this stuff and the size of the film and all, like stuff I didn't know nothing about.
Hmm.
And he kind of saved the day, and then so everything got set up and I just did my thing. So I didn't really feel like I was the director. I said, like, well, I'm just kind of art directing. So I'm looking and I'm looking at after we film something, and I would see the playbacks, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, we got to do this, that, try this, move the light here, move it there, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I always loved that experience because I was doing things that I never expected I would do or be a part of, and I don't even know how I got there. And But I remember they trusted me and they gave me a lot of responsibility back in those days, as they did with you. And that was cool. It was more of an educational experience. It was more like I'm learning things, and that's what I always want to do. I always want to learn. I want to get better. And, uh, I learned a lot more since then. And obviously, I said, there's some homework. And I forget the guy's first name, but then I used to hang out with his last name was Anderson.
Oh,
Um,
Clark Anderson?
yeah, he and I started hanging out a lot because he was a director, and then I could pick his brain. He would let me go to the sets, and I would watch how he do things. He was so sharp on the set, man. He was so. And there was another guy that I used to go to the set with,
Randy
oh,
Roberts?
Randy Roberts, brilliant man. So I used to go to the sets with him. They would invite me. I would go, and then I could hear what they were doing, how they would direct things, and um, after my first little directional debut, and was
Yeah.
pretty much at the bottom. Then I was like, I got to learn more. I got to hang out. And these guys, they let me come in and hang out. I definitely hung out with Clark more than Randy Roberts. But Randy Roberts and I both started in architecture, so
Oh.
uh, he understood my work. We would talk about architecture. Then when he was on the set and he was working, um, I would be there and be able to watch what they were doing and see how he handled his business, and it was cool. I love those days, man. I never thought I would be exposed to that. It was I did a design for a Super Bowl commercial after my work at Rhythm and Hues, which I don't think you know about, right?
After Rhythm and Hues, you went up to San Luis Obispo. That's what I remember
Yeah. But there was a
before that.
period, yeah, right at the end of Rhythm and Hues. I got a project